Assalamu alaikum. This perhaps may be my fourth video, is to continue on where I left at in the third one. I think I stopped at trying to talk about the second trait and characteristic of a chaste woman, as the Quran suggests. And I also stated that according to the Quranic contextual semantic approach, is the female, the chaste female has two characteristics. Is the qanitat, is the obedience to God, not to man. It's strictly obedience to God and what God has commanded in the whole Quran, and from morality and honor and protect and protection of the family and so on, all these obligations of the female towards the family. And also the second trait for a chaste woman is to honor, protect, and guard in the absence of the family male, or the husband or the brother and so on, whoever is the guardian. It's the partner in the family as well. So to protect what God is expect of her to protect, and she has to know that even though it's in secret and there's absence, nobody around, Allah is the one who's watching, and Allah expects of her to be chaste and to protect that which is supposed to be protected in the absence of her husband. And now the reason why I'm saying that to protect and to guard is to do with moral chastity, is simply the Quran also answers for that. If I would refer to almost 3 verses, it uses the same terminology of hafizat from the same root word, hafizun yuhafizun. In Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verse number 5, it's saying that the believers, the true believers are those who are protecting their chastity. Protecting their chastity. Al-Mu'minun, number 5. There are various translations, but really the best, I would say the closest one to the Arabic, is those who protect their chastity. And the word used in the Arabic was furujihim. It's usually a reference as chastity of a female. It's to protect it. And the other one is Al-Ma'arij, that is chapter 70, verse number 29, and the same kind of talking to male and female, both of them, those who honor and protect and guard their chastity. It's to both men and women. The same word was used, al-hafizat, hafizun, yuhafizun. There in the other verse that we are talking about today, al-hafizatun lil-ghayb. So, if you connect the two together, what is the woman is supposed to be protecting and guarding is no different than those 3 verses I just quoted you. And also in chapter 24, verse 31, in the same talking, is to protect and guard the chastity. So connecting or referencing these three verses with the verse at hand, we conclude that the protection in the absence or in secret of a female, what God has asked her to protect, that He asked her to protect where in these 3 verses? To protect her chastity. So, therefore, we conclude that these 2 dimensions are to do with the moral conduct of a female. It's got nothing to do with leadership over somebody, nothing to do with who is supposed to be the leader and of the affairs of the family, as many commentators as well as many modern thinkers believe, which is not really according to the Quranic contextual semantic. So after the Quran laid down for us the basic rules of who is supposed to be responsible for the protection, honor, well-being of a family, and also the trait of a chaste female, lay down the foundation of these two chaste female, that means as-salihat. As-salihat is a chaste female, honorable female. Those female who abstain from committing repugnant acts. That's what it means, as-salihat. Because salihat, it comes from salih, good. When God says in the Quran to mankind, do good deed. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Those who do a good deed. As-salihat. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Here is saying, فَالصَّالِحَاتُ, meaning the good woman. And this is in the female, or the feminine form. So, the reason I'm emphasizing on this, because this is to establish the guidelines of the family, the proper, I would say, orbit of a good family, successful family, functioning family, and lays down the foundation and the pillars of what keeps the family together. That is on whom that the moral responsibility fall, to maintain, to honor, to protect, to provide, and also what is the traits of a female. Now, a single of the female first in this verse, and later on other verses will talk about the male as well, but in this particular verse immediately zoomed on the female, because the female role in the family so fundamental, so crucial, more than the male. Why? Because she bears the children and she is the first teacher of her children to bring up society members. Simple as that. So after that, the verse moves on to something very important. That is, what if the female does not behave in the manner that this verse laid down for her? That is, to be a good woman, chaste woman. So in other words, the Quran has laid down an orbit, if you will, and this orbit has boundaries. These boundaries is to be good, qanitat. The second one is to guard what God is expect her to guard. That is the orbit of a good chaste woman. If the woman does not stay in that orbit that is laid down in the verse for goodness, to be good, let's call it the orbit of chastity, if you will. If a woman decides to get out of that orbit of chastity, which is drawn to her by the verse, obviously she's expected to stay in that orbit to make sure to maintain the continuity of the family, the stability of the family, and the longevity of the family continue until God decides to call all of us back. So if a female decides not to stay in that orbit of chastity for external reasons of her own volition, that state, the Quran calls it nushuz, and I underline. Nushuz here is really getting out of the norm that is laid down by the verse, which is, I call it, the chastity orbit. To be good, a chaste woman is to be obedient to God and also to guard her chastity. And I explain from the Quranic standpoint those two terms. So if a man fears, and from his observation, the conduct of his wife or his daughters and so on, or his sisters, there is something going on, not normal, it's outside the norms of the chastity orbit, and that's very serious. In this case, وَاللَّاتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ, those who you fear As for those wives or female whose misconduct, I'm just reading translation, whose misconduct you fear, first advise them. Now, I mean, unfortunately, it's a very vaguely say misconduct. We have to connect back to these parts I just explained. Is the orbit of chastity. Those who you fear becomes nashes, nushuz. Nushuz, it's out of the prescribed moral conduct. Becomes nushuz. There's only fear, has not really materialized yet. When we see that those signs from the conduct of a female, obviously there's an alarming situation here. It's a crisis at hand. The Quran offers 3 steps. Those 3 steps are not necessarily in sequence. They could be performed separately. They could be one of them performed before the other, or you could jump to the 3rd one, or you could begin with the 2nd one. It doesn't matter. It depends on the family level of knowledge, the family of their culture, their values, the way that they see things. The husband could choose any of these 3 steps because there is a crisis. There is an attempt that the female is getting out of the orbit or the chastity orbit, and that warrants for a destruction of a family. So the first step is, as the Quran laid down, is to admonish. And admonish, obviously, is a method that is to try to talk in a very realistic way, in a very calm way, try to present the consequences of what might occur in the future if this continues. Try to reason with the wife that who is engaged in this nushuz. So to talk wisdom, to project that what could happen, the children might go away, they might lose what they have built together, they might go astray, the children, they will be responsible for that, she will be responsible for that, because she is the cause for that destruction of the family. So it's just about talk, to bring out the best, and to try to make sure these talks really affect and influence the inner being of the female. Try to awaken her, try to shake her up a little bit. Admonition. Now let me pause back a little bit quickly. The nushuz, most of the commentators, they say this is a woman who becomes very arrogant, very difficult to deal with. All of these things are really consequence of what is really happening in reality. What is happening is there's something immoral, it's in a progress. Something is happening. Maybe a relationship with somebody else, some kind of elements of repugnant acts might occur in the future. It's to do with morality, as I explained to you. Nothing to do with arrogance or doesn't respect the husband. She's always giving him a hard time. That's what the many commentators believe that, but not what the Quranic text. Well, until next time, I will continue. Thank you.